A very warm welcome to all the panelists. A great theme, great topic, and definitely, a very interesting, panel put together. Uh, all being pillars and stalwarts who have actually walked the talk of what the topic is today. Compliance leading to optimization, definitely of the workforce. While we are going to discuss about the new era or the new normal that is inevitable, they've been patrons to apprenticeship contracting even in the erstwhile era. So, without losing too much of time, and while my colleague, Prabhakar joins in, let's look at it from this perspective. A new normal is definitely inevitable, but as the HR fraternity and leaders of the retail industry, can we put together and work around a design that is as per our desire in the new normal? With those thoughts, I would like to actually start off with. A, a situation wherein I'm a student probably in higher education across one of the colleges in the country, and I desire a
Hello?
respectable livelihood.
Hello?
Yes.
Can I go ahead, Bhumika?
Yeah, James, Lawrence, you can continue.
Yes, sir. You can continue, please.
Please.
So I desire a respectable livelihood, and there are certain things that are happening around, and I would like to throw this option open to the panelists. I know that there is a COVID, and that's very visible. And at the same time, I know something which is a big talk of the town, Industry 4.0, new skill sets, new competencies, etc., etc. So I'm a little confused. If I go to my professor in my college and say that, during my post-college hours or post me exiting from the education system and wanting to join the workforce, how am I going to be ready and pursue a respectable career which will give me livelihood and successful career opportunity? How do I go about this, and where do I get this currency of skill sets? So, I would like to throw this question open from a learner's perspective. How does apprenticeship or the retail industry open its doors for me as a newcomer who probably does not have any skill set or no experience at all? So, I would like to throw this question. Probably Vivek, you may want to answer this, or you may want to go through this because you've been one of the stalwarts in this. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, James. Wonderful to be on this panel with all my other colleagues. So I think the good thing is that if, let's say, I'm completely fresh, I'm out of college, the apprenticeship portal, which is this apprenticeshipindia.org, that portal itself gives so much information about what are the options I have. So let us say I don't know anything about the companies, the opportunities. All I need to do is register myself on this portal, and I will get information about what are the opportunities available for somebody with my kind of qualification. So I think that's the first step, just knowing what options are available. And not just that, one can actually also get access to those opportunities, because there are so many companies who have put up their, the apprenticeship requirements, including location, the kind of trade, etc., on the portal. So I need to go there, look it up, and apply. And we in BIBA have been able to get absolute freshers through this medium, and they have been able to come, and then of course after once they are selected, and the selection is based mostly on location and the attitude which the person has. After that, the whole a whole host of opportunities become available. Because once you have gotten into your first job and you start learning it, then of course your skill levels keep on going up, and you can also then get absorbed either in that same organization or in some other organization, and your skill levels kind of keep going up. So I think for a fresher, just registering themselves on this portal and making them and understanding what opportunities are available is the best way to kind of take the first step.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, this actually leads me to the next question, which probably Joe could step in over here. So, while I get this first opportunity and I start working with an organization in the means of being a contracted apprentice, will that help me, bring about a little bit of calmness and confidence in me that yes, I am progressing towards what the evolved industry and the dynamics of industry is demanding? Are my skill sets going to be relevant as we move ahead? Joe, over to you, please.
So, thank you, James. Thanks for having me here. Wonderful to be here and being part of this discussion. So, this question that you asked, I think a few years back, I don't think there were many options available for freshers, right? So, other than the Apprentices Act, and we know that the success of the Apprentice Act was not, it was successful, but I don't think it was taken to the level that that we really wanted it to go. So this is a wonderful opportunity. I think if I look at the success story that of people who have joined the through the NAPS program, a good number of people, yes, do complete their program. Yes, that in our own organization we see about of late we are seeing about 55-60% of people completing the program, but the others 40-45% who was dropping out. About 20% of them go to join the other retailers. So the experience which they gain through this program, I think the industry recognizes it, and even before the completion of the program, they find a placement in other organizations. So that's a testimony that that's they get picked up early enough. So that's one of the biggest advantages that I can see. The other,
वापस login किया फिर भी नहीं start होता.
Yeah, the other we can hear you, Prabhakar. Meanwhile, yeah. So we know that we are trying to fix the audio or the video problem. Yeah. So the other big advantage that we see is with respect to the certification of these individuals, and with the co-branded certificate, RASI, and with the Government of India certification. I think it's a wonderful testimony to carry around and saying that I'm employable. So, can the industry bodies then start getting together and say that, okay, now once you are a certified individual through this route, can there be you don't need another interview or assessment. You just need to basis the skill sets that you have. Any organization can pick you up. So that if we can build that kind of a confidence, I think the program will see a different level of engagement by industry as well as by the individuals. Yes, James.
Thanks. That's very good. In fact, the takeaways that I'm getting from what Vivek and you just spoke about is that if you look at retail as an industry, it's a people-intensive industry. We can't do business without people, and it's an icing on the cake when you have relevantly skilled and competent workforce that's catering to either product retailing or service retailing for that matter. And would an idea, if I had to just look at it from this perspective, suppose the entire higher education system, the network of probably 46,000 plus colleges that we have across the nation, if some system had to be worked out wherein the industry gets to integrate with the higher education system, because in the first year of higher education, all of them are eligible as per the laws of land to be part of the workforce, and they can be contracted as apprentices. And the good part is, this will also resolve a lot of challenges of the migratory workforce moving from location A to location B to get themselves economically independent. would a relationship or an integration between industry and the higher education system bring about goodness for the individual, the institute, and industry? What are your thoughts on this?
You're asking me, James? Yeah.
Yeah, you, Vivek, it could be Dhruv. I understand Prabhakar is connecting, he's having a challenge, technical challenge.
Sure. So
Hey,
Vivek,
James, I'm available on audio. Somehow there is a problem with the video, so certainly, yeah. You
Not a
can ask
problem.
me
Not a problem.
the
While you pick that up, we'll keep the question. We'll keep some questions for you. We'll have a lot of meat for you. Don't worry. So what we're talking about an integration between the industry and the higher education system. Because if you look at it, wherever there is life, retail exists, and wherever there is life and retail exists, there will 100% be a college or a school. So would that help?
Yeah, if I can take that, the question, James, when you ask this question, you excite, you get me excited about it, because if you look at this NAPS per se, it has been a very good example where the government, the industry, and the students per se have come together in a very meaningful manner, and there is a benefit for the government, there's a benefit for the employees, and there's a benefit for the employer. And in my career, I have never seen any other, such kind of a scheme which has been mutually beneficial to the entire ecosystem. So the first piece has gone very right in it, and that's why you have been able to scale it up, and I must congratulate you and your team for driving this. Going forward, you are kind of putting it up to the next level, where you are talking about direct integration with the colleges, and I would say that is where we can really blow it up to the very next level. One challenge which I have seen that can be overcome with this integration is that many students don't pursue education because they don't have the means and they are not able to afford their education. So I would like to take it further maybe and see that can we have integration while these students are pursuing their education, and there can be flexibility built in at that level that students are able to say study for 3 months, and 3 months they can work, or in a week they can study for 3 days, and 3 days they can come to work, and that way they are able to afford their own education. And if that piece actually goes well, James, I certainly believe there is no limit. So at first level, yes, education, colleges reaching out to their employers in the vicinity and having direct connection. And second level, we build this flexibility where students are able to afford their own education. Will be a great step in the right direction.
Fantastic. Thanks. Vivek, your views on this, please, because it's opening up a completely new world for all of us there.
Yes, so James, we have up till now, we have been able to enter into some collaboration with colleges at a local level. So what we have done is that in some of the locations where we need significant manpower, we've approached colleges and we simply have told them that the requirements that we have will all be on the NAPS portal. They should encourage their students to directly go there and apply against those. So the collaboration has been localized, but I think what Dhruv rightly said is that I think we need to now take it to the next level and maybe have retail institutes and other institutes which have a wider footprint to give us manpower under this scheme. As of now, what we have done is one-off engagements with typically inter colleges where you have either plus people who have done their high school or their intermediate, and we have simply told them that please your students can come to DIBA through this means. And we have received fairly good response, specifically in Mumbai, in Delhi, where we have large requirements. But I think much more can be done here than what has been attempted up till now.
Very nice. So what takeaway I'm getting from this is that means if Rashi, with the assistance of the National Skills Development Corporation and our Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, have to liaison and work very closely with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of HRD to create this kind of, or facilitate this kind of a platform. It will be a win-win situation, especially to have the kids who are actually pursuing their education to simultaneously get integrated into the industry. And that will also, the takeaway that even Dhruv mentioned, that it's like it would reduce the dropouts that could possibly happen in the higher education space for want of economic need. So this would take care of that. So it's almost like, you learn and earn at the same time, and you're with the industry. So rest assured, you're getting skilled with the currency of competencies and skill sets that are required to succeed in the professional world. Great. So we have some great work to do on this, and we'll definitely get back with details on how we could work this out and how we could get this facilitated on a scalable basis. Coming to one thing, now I'm posing as a retailer. I'm a small retailer. All of you are big brands. Okay, so let me pose this question to our dear friend who's actually trying to get through with his video. So Prabhakar, if I'm audible to you, you represent the largest retailer in the nation today. And I am actually a retailer now, a small time retailer, and I've got just employees of, to the strength of 5, 10, 15. So am I missing the bus? Can I also play a role in apprenticeship? Can I also take the benefit of this act that the government of India has institutionalized and opened for the service industry? Share your views, please.
Yeah. Thanks, James, and sorry for the video. I don't know what happened.
Not a problem. This is the new normal. So we'll have to, have a lot of adjustments that will happen as long as work gets done and we still move ahead. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You raise a very important point. In fact, Rashi is doing fantastic work as far as the apprenticeship scheme is concerned. And Rashi is like a very, very big help as far as the Reliance is concerned. As far as the small scale industry, you raise the right question, whether they also should go for this scheme or not. So in our organization, in fact, we have gone ahead and in fact, we have registered our vendors also, the supply chain vendors and other vendors under the scheme. So the advantage here is that one is like one is like we are developing a talent pool for the stores coming plus the supply chain operation coming. So where you require a skilled manpower, and right now we have a crunch of a skilled manpower. As far as the smaller organization is concerned, definitely there is a cost advantage. So other than cost advantage, definitely that helps to the organization to have a balanced workforce wherein we have a regular people as well as the people who are undergoing a training on a particular trade. Now, there is a legal requirement also which I wanted to tell here, because as far as the apprenticeship scheme is concerned, the Act has been modified in the year, amended has been here in the year 2014, and in 2016 this NAPS has been introduced. And when NAPS has been introduced, so many changes have been done, and it's like a flagship program of the government. So under the flagship program of the government wanted to increase the number of apprentices tenfold. And currently we have around 282,000 apprentices across pan India. But what government is looking about 20-25 lakhs of apprentices across pan India. That's one. Second, as far as the applicability is concerned, wherever you have more than 30 people, definitely legally you need to have apprentices. Minimum 2.5% is the requirement legally, wherein all organizations are required to keep apprentices, particularly the trade they are running in their organization. Now, see whether the organization who are having 4 to 30 people, can they have this scheme? The answer is yes. It is optional to them, so they can also use this scheme and can have these apprentices in their organization. So, particularly with the Reliance, if you say, in fact, we insisted, and in fact, we registered so many vendors, the contractors under this scheme, and they are getting benefit under this scheme. So, very, very useful. And there is a confusion among the so many people whether it's really applicable to my organization or not organization. But I wanted to take out that confusion by saying that now it is applicable. Earlier it was applicable only to the manufacturing industry, but that is not the case today. It is applicable to all industry, including small scale, middle scale, large scale organization. So it is applicable to everybody. Legally, we need to be 100% compliant as far as the apprenticeship engagement is concerned.
Great. So you used that term, fantastic. In fact, so which means if I am a retailer, even if I have 10 employees, I can take benefit under the scheme of apprenticeship, and I can contract apprenticeships, which is a big win, for the small and medium segment. And it sounds so nice, when the largest retailer says that you have got even your vendors, your suppliers, etc., enrolled in this. It's a fantastic move because you are bringing about compliance not only within your organization but to all your associated partners in business, which is very nice. Great initiative. And in fact, it's giving me a thought. I just look at it this way. Looking a step beyond, India is approximately 9,000 plus railway platforms, and we have a store on every platform. Probably they also can get into this because they have 3+ employees with them, so they also can take the benefit of the good part is I can be a child staying at Lasalgaon and do not even have to move to Nasik to get employed. I can get employed from Lasalgaon, within Lasalgaon on the railway platform, wherein I can just have a walking distance from residence to workplace. Great. So this is another thing which actually can be looked upon very well. The only thing is now coming back to my role as an apprentice. Suppose James is an apprentice and gets contracted with one of you in your organizations. I have one big question in my mind. Am I going to be considered inferior to the others? What is my growth path after getting contracted as an apprentice with any of your organizations? Do I have any growth options? What is it, or how does it work for me? Anyone would want, Vivek, you would want to say something on this?
Yes. So, in fact, the launch of this apprentice scheme in October 2018, that is when we had launched the scheme. This actually helped us carve out a career path for all our associates. Because what we said is that in any store, there have to be a mix of manpower. There has to be a certain number of apprentices, a certain number of moderately experienced staff, and certain other highly experienced staff. And we also have carved out what are the skills that apprentices will get, and we've also created content accordingly. And then we have also been able to institutionalize a performance management system which looks at both results as well as behaviors. So we are looking at attendance, we are looking at the ability of the staff to service the customers, and we are looking at actual sales. And of course, the extent to which the apprentice is going through the training. And based on that, what we have found is that if you do well, then in 6 months, we have been able to, regularize. In the last year, about 100 apprentices were regularized to sales executives. And because now there is a path, therefore, we were also able to say that the sales executives who were able to train apprentices, we were able to give them slightly, more responsibilities, and we were able to, create product champions and customer service champions there. So I think if you are an apprentice and you show progress, you will become a regular employee. And if you are a regular employee who is taking care of apprentices, then that also shows up in your advancement, in the hierarchy. So now we have apprentice, we have got sales executives, we have senior sales executives. There is a gradation of skills and responsibilities that we have been able to create at the store because of this program. And all this while keeping costs in check, because you don't have to pay the statutory components like Provident Fund and ESIC for your apprentices. We have, of course, enrolled all of them in medical insurance because we thought that was essential. But and we get 1,500 rupees, per month for as subsidy, from the government. So while keeping costs in check, it's a great way to develop different skill levels within your store and also to do manpower planning in the store. And it's actually, so as a result, about 8%, I mean, of the total strength is of apprentices. So we've been able to bring it up to about 8%. So that's been the impact of this.
Very encouraging, very encouraging. That means the misconception probably I had in my mind because of hearsay of apprentice being inferior to a regular employee. In fact, when I look at it, it's actually my door that opens up for a career path that can actually grow, and it's dependent on me how fast I actually can grow in this, journey. It's directly my contribution and my performance that is going to actually, pave my path, growing vertically. Great to hear that, and good to hear also that your organization is at 8% of this, which leads me to another question. You mentioned about benefits, you mentioned about the child getting taken care of. It's like a journey, and this becomes the first part. Should he or she not have any skill sets, they get nurtured, they get groomed, and they get vertically, grown within the system. Dhruv, I would like to ask you your experience, especially in terms of, if I have to pose as an HR manager within your system. I can understand during this pandemic period itself, there were huge challenges and huge overnight manpower requirements that your organization actually had in various locations. And in such a situation, going ahead, how would apprentice and contracting of apprentices assist and de-stress the HR team that you have, which is operating across the nation?
So great question. When we started, James, over here, I have never maintained, the differentiation in terms of apprentice and a normal team member. We call the first level people as team members. Because in my experience in earlier days, what I have seen is that if you keep the differentiation at the ground level, what happens is then people start comparing their salaries, people start comparing their work, their leave, their working hours, and then there is a kind of a 2 or 3 layers that created, which are like maybe sometimes formal or informal at the store level. And the work starts getting allocated accordingly, that I am a senior guy, you will do this, I am do that. So what we did was, and I guess that's where we were able to scale it up. We have about 1,000 apprentices right now. Is that we said at the first level itself, there will be no difference. So the leave, the career path, the incentive, the working hours, the nature of work. So we never put them as an apprentice or an inferior to a normal team member to begin with. And that also applied. What we did was that we kept the stipend also at the take home level of a normal team member who is getting a minimum wage. So we said your take home salaries are same, and then everything else is same. So what it did was, now coming to what you asked me, so now they are like in normal. So at the ground level, maybe in many of the stores, even certain level to my store managers, they will never be able to differentiate that he is an apprentice or he's a normal team member. While all the benefit that Vivek sir talk about, we are all getting it. Second thing is that once we went into it, we got exposed to the entire network of RAI and Hashi and the other third-party providers that you have enabled in between. So we got exposed to the various NGOs, like which we are not hiring from earlier, like PMKVY, and there are various state-level initiatives, and there are various other NGOs which are working, which already are in the ecosystem of Retailers Association, which we were not hiring from. And now that became a conduit. So say from one good scheme of government like PMKVY, we are now moving them into NAPS, which is another good government scheme. And then when they come over here, there is no differentiation. In fact, the way we train them, we have got an 8 weeks program of 16 modules for them. So we kind of ensure that they come to an acceptable level of performance within the first 2 months. and then they can be promoted, they can be incentivized, as the other panel members mentioned. So it's a very vast world that opened up with apprentices, and if we keep them in the right light and position them at the store level in the right perspective, I guess the avenues are multiple and very very beneficial.
Great. So we're seeing a lot of goodness. That means that has worked out for the regular employees, the apprentices, as well as your organization at an overall level, because of you maintaining no classification at the front end. Though, from a contracting and hiring perspective, from a statutory perspective, which is internal to the organization, they could be the different buckets as per the percentage permissible as per law. However, at the front end and within the team, each one is equal. So that's a great takeaway. In fact, another very good takeaway, which even Vivek was mentioning, was actually the true essence of apprentice. Because if I had to be an apprentice contracted by any one of you, and if my contract period was supposed to be, let's say, 12 months or 18 months or 22 months, and if in the 6th month I have been able to come up to this stage, and your expectations of a regular employee actually to perform the task the way a regular employee would actually perform, and you transition me, prematurely probably, it's actually the essence and success of what the government and industry is doing together. And it's so encouraging to actually hear these success stories. Fantastic. I just wanted to ask one thing now, since, we all know that for various reasons, attrition actually is part and parcel of various industries, and retail is nothing different. We also have the same challenge of attrition. And now, keeping that one part aside and looking at the other side now to fulfill the vacancies, can I, as an HR head, take the liberty of continuously hiring lateral employees or experienced employees? What is the impact that is going to get created on my overall wage bill? And am I doing good for the industry? Because ultimately, I'm taking a person from X organization into my organization. Tomorrow, the person from my organization is going to go to Y organization. So, am I increasing or enlarging the landscape of retail skill sets and individuals having skill sets for the retail industry, or am I condensing it in a manner by doing that? So, how does apprenticeship help in this field? I'm sure all would want to talk about this, because this is something that all of us face. Please go ahead.
James Prabhakar here. See,
Yes, please.
now you talked about the cost saving part. So, as far as the cost saving is concerned, the benefits available. In fact, the government launched NAPS. They have started giving so many incentive to the apprentices as well as to the organization who will be deploying the apprentices. So what they said, one is like everybody knows apprentices are exempted under the social security. Though the PF is not applicable, the ESIC is not applicable, the bonus is not applicable. So you have a direct saving of 20-25% if that is not applicable. That is one. Second would be like from the government side, they wanted to incentivize. They really wanted to promote this scheme. This is a flagship program of a government. So what they wanted to extend the benefit of this scheme to the organization also. So what they started is like refunding the cost of stipend to the organization. So what is the scheme provides is that 25% of your stipend they gives back to the organization, or 1,500, whichever is higher. So you get a 1,500 stipend back from the government. But idea is not here to save the cost. As far as our organization is concerned, idea is not to save the cost. Okay. Say anyway, you have a cost saving that can be used for giving an attractive stipend to the people. Okay, you have a saving, but that can be used to because main requirement is to attract the people, develop a talent pipeline. When you are opening so many stores, retail is growing everywhere. In fact, now in the rural areas also you have a retail business. So there is a need of an hour to develop a skill, particularly with respect to the retail. And you need a skilled people, talented people in your organization or in your stores. So the idea is wherever you get this cost advantage, that can be used for a positive purpose, like incentivizing the apprentices himself if they complete 1 year of service, 6 months of service, giving back that whatever saving you have to the people. That is one idea, and give the attractive stipend to the people so that the fresher will get attracted to your organization, and more people can join to the apprenticeship scheme. That is one advantage. These people join with a mindset like they wanted to work in a retail, so their mindset is fixed. So in the beginning you explain everything, so they come with a mindset, and if they get an attractive stipend in the beginning itself, though there is no social security, like Vivek said, in our organization also now we have covered them under the medical insurance as far as the COVID is concerned. So that kind of anyway we are taking care of their health and other this thing. There are safety measures, there are health measures we have. Other than this thing, if you give a attractive this thing, so cost saving is there, definitely cost saving there. But that cost saving can be used for a positive purpose of attracting very good people to your organization, and you can have a more and more number of people. So yeah, you know that we reached up to 8,800 with the help from Rashi. So 8,800 is a big number as to the apprentices are concerned. So idea is not only the save the cost. Idea is to there is a crunch of people, so somehow get help of this scheme to attract very good people, talented people to the operation.
Wow. Anyone else would want to share their views on this?
So James,
does it help in retention?
Yes. So James, so my experience has been that the program can be as successful as how the operating managers adopt it, right? So we found that initially when the program, the freshers under the NAPS program were being recruited, there was a mindset that these are freshers and they wouldn't be as productive as the lateral hires. So what we did is we also did a quick after the 45-day training which the training team did, we constantly marked their productivity in terms of how soon they become productive. So we found that people who get laterally hired and somebody who has maybe a year, 2 year, 3 years of CDIT experience who join us, and between the candidates who join under NAPS, we found that in some 6 months' time they were as productive as the lateral hires. So data like this, when we shared it with the operating managers, I think there were more acceptance. And what we also see is the store managers. The store managers who invest time in them, in terms of their training and their mentoring and their coaching aspect. We find that those are the ones who turn out to be brighter, and those are the guys who really stand apart. So it's very important for the operating managers to own this program, and and that's how the program can be more successful.
Very nice, very nice. So before we get into a few questions that are there, I would just like each one of you to share the top 3 benefits that each one of you have seen because of which you all embraced apprentices and contracted them. We could start off with Prabhakar, since he's the person without the video. Let's give him the benefit.
Sorry, James, can you repeat the question?
What are the 3 benefits? While there'll be many, what are the 3 benefits that you actually had seen for which you said, yes, apprenticeship has to be part of my system?
Yeah. So as I told earlier, also the earlier question also, definitely it helps for talent development. And wherever you are opening a new stores, you can use these people, because initial 2-3 months they can be trained, and they can acquire the soft skill, they can acquire the safety rules, the processes, then whatever from your work culture or values point of view, you can nurture them as per your requirements, and they are readily available to your organization whenever you start a new operation. That is one big advantage. Second is wherever there is a opportunity for these people, you are developing a skilled manpower. So wherein these people can be gainfully engaged anywhere, even if you don't have any vacancy. So these people can be gainfully engaged in any other organization. So you are giving an opportunity to the people to develop a skill among themselves, and they're like marketable themselves to the other organization also. Even though you don't have a vacancy, they can market themselves with the other organization, can earn it can be like a source of their livelihood.
Oh, fantastic. In fact, I'd like to just intervene in this. This point that you mentioned actually has great social and national impact, because you are actually ensuring a person getting gainfully employed in the workforce through contracts, instead of actually loitering around the corners of the streets. So it's a fantastic point. Very good.
And third point is obviously third one is the cost saving. Very nice said. Yes, you get a when you have apprentices, certainly there is a cost benefit. You get a incentive from the government as well as you save on a social security cost.
Very good. So it's financial impact, it is social impact, as well as getting to customize and nurture the skill as per your own organization. Very good. Very good. Next, please. Any it can be Vivek.
Yeah, so I think Prabhakar mentioned the important ones. I'll just talk about one thing. Our
Right.
line managers, they used to think that if a person is not doing well, then you can just get rid of that person and hire somebody from the nearest store in the same vicinity, way in which they looked at manpower. But with apprentices, I think there's been a change in the mindset, and we are looking to develop skilled people. And there is some responsibility that I should develop my people. And I think that change is the most important thing. Managers realize that it's not just that you will hire from outside, but that you need to take in people and develop them. And I think that's a big change.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it's something more of making yourself actually, in a parlance, I would say, a finishing school, or a system that actually enables a person on the skill sets that are required to succeed in the professional world. Very good, very nice. Dhruv, please share your thoughts, please.
The first thing that kind of excited me and is to be part of the ecosystem. Being part of the Rashi, collaborating with RAI, collaborating with the NGOs, being part of the government initiative, and trying to create gainful employment, as Mr. Prabhakar said, and also a meaningful existence for the employment. We keep on hiring, firing, as Mr. Vivek is saying, going out and laterally in the market. But how can this effort that we are doing can be meaningful to the various stakeholders in the ecosystem? And together now, after 1.5 years, we are on this table discussing how we can take the next level. I think that was the kind of the first opportunity that I saw in this whole opportunity when we spoke to your team and Hina over there and other people. So that's one. The second thing is that I was happy with the flexibility that was built into the whole system. And that was a very welcome initiative by the government in this. Uh, I will tell you honestly, when I had read the Apprenticeship Act as part of my curriculum from 20 years back, I was really not excited. I kind of maybe have not read it, maybe just turned the pages and moved on to the other thing because I never found value in it. I will remember my meeting with my boss after I studied the NAPS program. I went to him and he was scared that I'm talking about apprenticeship because he had seen those days in late 90s of Apprenticeship Act and he came from manufacturing background. And so I, in fact, I remember Hina flew down and had a chat with my boss. I had to call her to kind of talk to her and kind of convince my boss that no, this is, so that's flexibility on the curriculum, on the hours, and that whole proposition of as is there is, that you can customize the proposition as you are doing it for other employees for your organization. That was a very big benefit. The second one. And third thing, personally as an HR professional, I would say other points have been spoken by Mr. Prabhakar and Mr. Vivek, that we have been able to create the direct contribution to the bottom line of the company. If I just look at the subsidy which I have gained for the company, and if I have to do the sale, so it is equivalent to at least 1 day sale
Wow.
of the entire 160 stores. So if I do the sale and then I look at the margin and then take away the cost, so what actually counts for running the organization for 1 day or 2 days is what the subsidy that we have already earned, and that's a direct contribution to the bottom line of the company. So that is a very kind of, it makes me proud as an HR professional. I guess all of us think of how to contribute to the bottom line. And this is the first thing in my last 20 years where I've been able to contribute. So thanks a lot for that. So I guess this is the way I look at it, and really it's been very satisfying experience.
Very nice. That means we're talking about flexibility, we're talking about changes in the act, more pro towards industry, youth, and evolved rules emanating from that act. And definitely, yes, the incentive that is there that which contributes towards the growth of the organization. Great. Joe, your views, please.
So one is the biggest benefit that I see is you get a bunch of youngsters, and these are guys who are really thinking really different, and they're challenging every Bible that you have, right? And they're challenging everything. So that's one of the biggest advantages. So they help in challenging the status quo. The second advantage that I see is, yes, it helps in, like, that's the advantage of sometimes going last. Many of them talked about the pipeline the talent pipeline that can get created in the as you expand. So that's a very big flexibility that you have in the system. The third thing that I see is there's nothing more satisfying than see a bunch of youngsters getting employable and then doing well in their life. So that's a third thing that I see.
Fantastic. So what you're speaking about is vibrant youngsters within the stores to actually keep customers engaged, great opportunity, social impact, and developing these youngsters into the future, mid management and futuristic roles that are there. Great. So if you actually go to see, just to summarize, uh, it's great. That means small retailer, big retailer, medium retailer, no problem. Apprenticeship Act is open. Apprentice, vertical growth for the youth, great. Incentivization from the government perspective to the industry, fantastic. Flexibility in the system, national cause, positivity, social impact, nurturing talent, young, grooming them to be the future of tomorrow. All the possible goodnesses have actually been covered in this, and it's excellent to hear it from people who actually walk what they're talking right now. So it's so nice. Before we move on, I'll just probably take one question because I'm getting reminders in terms of our session. So one question that I would want to actually just take before we move on is this from the audience, and this specifically to Dhruv. What makes apprentices a good alternative to skilled manpower?
So, see, if you see the definition of skill, especially in the retail world, especially in the post-pandemic times, is also changing and has changed dramatically. If I have like in the last 4 years, and the way that what we used to call skilled manpower after 4 years ago, and we used to say now what we call as skilled manpower is completely different. And a lot of skills actually which we thought are skilled per se are not skilled today, and the value chain has actually gone up. So what apprentices do is they keep on the young and vibrancy that Mr. Joe spoke of. When they come in with the youth and vibrancy and dynamism into our stores, a lot of the skills which we were saying are skilled and we are paying a premium and we are kind of blocking the experienced people, they become a normal skill in the front of everybody. And within 3 months or 6 months, the entire burden of the skills that we need to run a store is reduces significantly because the youth and dynamism of these people who are aspiring. When I will talk about cashiering. When we were in cashiering, 2 years or 2 years back, it was supposed to be a very high skilled in our stores. But when we start deploying these apprentices after 2 months of training into cashiering, when I go to a cash till now, when I see a young person doing a fast cashiering, I asked him that when have you joined? He said, sir, 2 months back. And he said, I asked him, are you an apprentice? Well, yes, sir, I'm an apprentice. The speed of that, when I checked, of that apprentice was as good as somebody who was doing cashiering for 2 years, and we were paying cashiering allowance and risk allowance to that cashier just because we thought that skill is supposed to be skilled. So in retail especially, there is very fluid definition of skill, and these skill can be really covered up by the youth and dynamism if we are able to train these people well. So what I keep kind of ensuring that we have a good training program and a good acceptance of that. That's why I spoke of as is there is, and paying the same salaries and stipends and all the policies similar. Once there is acceptance of the staff and they have an environment to grow, then they actually change the entire definition of a skill, and the entire burden of paying extra for the high skills reduces inside the stores.
It's extremely encouraging to hear whatever you're speaking, and probably all of you have contributed in such a manner. Fantastic inputs. I could go on for another hour, but I will not be permitted for the session. But definitely, I would look at it from this perspective. To all my panelists, I would like to thank you very much, because not only for the purpose of joining this session and giving a lot of your inputs and takeaways for the entire ecosystem, but it's also because of the contribution that you and each one of you and the HR fraternity and leaders who have not been on this panel have actually contributed towards RASI maintaining its lead in apprenticeship contracting right since inception in the optional trades. And it's credit to each one of your progressive organizations, progressive HR leaders like you, and the entire retail fraternity. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure speaking to each one of you. And we will create a lot of new milestones jointly. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, James. Thank you,
Thank you so much, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.